The atmosphere in the CNN studio was electric. Tonight wasn't just another political debate. It was a clash between two of the biggest names shaping America's future, but from completely opposite sides. At one podium stood Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, fiery, passionate, unapologetically progressive. At the other, Elon Musk, billionaire innovator, disruptor, and an unapologetic champion of free enterprise. The network had hyped this moment for days. Two titans, two visions, one stage. The moderator's voice cut through the tension. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, Mr. Musk, thank you both for being here tonight. Let's begin with the role of wealth in shaping democracy. Alexandria wasted no time. She turned sharply toward Elon, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Elon here, she said, likes to pretend he's some kind of working-class hero, tweeting from his $50 billion empire while ordinary Americans suffer. The audience erupted, half cheers, half gasps. Elon smiled thinly, adjusting his jacket, but said nothing. Alexandria pressed on, sensing blood. Let's not kid ourselves, she continued. Guys like him hoard resources, avoid taxes, and then act shocked when people demand fairness. More applause. Alexandria's supporters beamed, certain she had landed a clean first hit. Across the stage, Elon remained silent, a small, unreadable smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. The moderator turned. Mr. Musk, your response? Elon tilted his head slightly, almost amused, and then, without raising his voice, without rushing, he delivered a line that would ricochet across America within minutes. If success offends you so much, Congresswoman, maybe you're in the wrong profession. The room exploded. Gasps, laughter, scattered applause, even a few stunned shouts. Alexandria blinked rapidly, caught off guard. It was only the first exchange, but already the tone had shifted. Elon hadn't shouted, he hadn't mocked. He had simply exposed something deeper, a discomfort with success itself. And as Alexandria scrambled to recover, Elon Musk leaned back slightly, smiling. The battle had only just begun, but already the balance had tilted. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wasn't one to back down, not even when caught off guard. She straightened her blazer, forced a smile, and leaned into the mic with renewed fire. You know, she said, her voice rising slightly, the thing about billionaires like Elon is that they think if they invent a few gadgets, they're entitled to run the world. The audience stirred, pockets of applause mixed with murmurs of uncertainty. Alexandria sensed the shift, but plowed ahead. They build rockets, electric cars, and somehow we're supposed to forget the workers they underpay, the unions they crush, the communities they abandon when a better tax break pops up somewhere else. Now the cheers grew louder, her supporters finding their rhythm again. Elon sat motionless. He didn't blink. He didn't flinch. Instead, he simply listened, as if patiently waiting for her to finish digging the very hole she was standing in. The moderator turned. Mr. Musk, your rebuttal? Elon shifted slightly, one hand resting casually on the table. His voice was calm, almost conversational. I didn't build rockets to run the world, Congresswoman. I built them so people like you could one day leave it if you don't like it here. A stunned silence hit the room, then broke into bursts of laughter and scattered applause. Even some who weren't Musk fans couldn't help but smirk. Alexandria blinked rapidly again, her face flushing. Elon leaned forward just a little, his tone never rising above conversational. Workers at Tesla make more than the national average. SpaceX employs thousands at cutting-edge salaries. And last I checked, Congresswoman, you're the one getting paid 6 figures to tweet about how terrible America is. A few audience members gasped. A few clapped. The moderator shifted awkwardly in his seat. Alexandria opened her mouth, but no words came immediately. For the first time in a long time, the master of fiery rhetoric had run headfirst into a wall she couldn't climb with passion alone. Elon wasn't playing the outrage game. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't mocking. He was doing something far more dangerous. He was calmly, methodically exposing contradictions and forcing everyone watching to question what they thought they knew. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who had come ready for a show, realized something chilling. This wasn't going to be a show. It was going to be a dismantling. And it had already begun. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez took a sharp breath, her mind racing. She wasn't used to being on the defensive, especially not against a billionaire she had so often painted as the villain. But she recovered quickly, tightening her grip on the lectern and flashing a smile aimed at the crowd. "I don't need to leave the planet," she said, voice tinged with mock sweetness. "I just need the richest 1% to pay their fair share down here." The audience cheered loudly, almost desperately, clinging to familiar ground. Alexandria leaned into the momentum, lifting her chin. "Elon talks about opportunity, but he's the poster child for rigged systems. How many small businesses never get the tax breaks Tesla gets? How many workers can't afford a car from the man of the people?" The applause grew, louder this time. Alexandria smiled wider, feeling the energy return. For a moment it seemed like the tide had shifted back. But Elon Musk simply waited, patient, unshaken. When the moderator turned to him, Elon's response was quiet, almost casual. "If the system is so rigged in my favor, Congresswoman," he said, "why do I still have to work 16 hours a day just to stay ahead of your regulations?" The laughter from parts of the crowd was immediate, real this time, not prompted by applause signs. Alexandria's smile faltered slightly. Elon leaned in, his voice still conversational. "And if being rich is so easy," he added, "why haven't you built anything except Twitter threads and outrage?" The blow was surgical. No shouting, no gloating, just a clean incision, separating rhetoric from reality. Alexandria tried to cut in, but the moderator raised a hand. "Let Mr. Musk finish, please." Elon's gaze never wavered. "I employ over 100,000 people," he said simply. "I built companies that send humans into space and cars onto every street. Meanwhile, Congress passes laws written by lobbyists and then tweets about how brave they are." The room fell into a tense silence. Even Alexandria's most die-hard supporters shifted uneasily in their seats, because whether they liked it or not, the truth Elon spoke was undeniable. This wasn't the battle AOC had prepared for. She had come armed for a war of emotions, but Elon Musk had brought a war of facts. And facts, tonight, were winning. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez shifted uneasily at her podium. The practiced lines, the well-rehearsed indignation, it wasn't working. Not tonight. Not against Elon Musk's calm, surgical dismantling. Still, she forced a bright smile and took another shot. "Sure, Elon employs thousands," she said, voice tight. "But let's not pretend it's charity. He benefits from government subsidies, tax incentives, from the very government he mocks." Scattered applause followed. Elon tilted his head slightly, like a scientist observing an experiment he already knew the outcome of. "That's the game your party built," he said smoothly. "I just learned how to play it better than you." A ripple ran through the room. Part laughter, part shock. Alexandria's smile stiffened. Elon pressed on, voice steady. "Tesla paid back its loans early. SpaceX saves taxpayers billions by making NASA launches cheaper." He shrugged slightly. "If succeeding under the rules you created offends you, Congresswoman, maybe the problem isn't me. Maybe it's the rules." The moderator blinked, clearly impressed. Alexandria gripped the lectern tighter, fighting the urge to lash out. But Elon wasn't finished. "And by the way," he added, almost as an afterthought, "SpaceX offered union votes, and employees turned them down. Maybe they're happier than you think." Another burst of uncomfortable laughter. The audience wasn't fully on his side, yet. But they were listening. And that was all Elon needed. Alexandria tried to jump back in. "You think making billions excuses everything?" Elon smiled faintly. "I think building things matters more than tearing them down." The line hung in the air, undeniable, immutable. And for the first time tonight, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez realized something chilling. She wasn't debating a billionaire. She was debating the embodiment of everything her narrative couldn't explain away. And the cracks in her armor were widening fast. The energy in the room had shifted, subtly at first, but now unmistakably. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez could feel it. The audience that had cheered so loudly for her opening jabs was quieter now, their cheers weaker, their applause scattered. She knew she needed to regain momentum, fast. She leaned forward, forcing passion into her voice. "You talk about building things," she said sharply, "but you built your empire on the backs of exploited workers and loopholes." A few supporters clapped, but even they seemed uncertain. Elon Musk didn't react. No flinch, no frown. Instead, he tapped a finger lightly on the desk, waiting for the noise to die down. Then, calmly, "Congresswoman, my companies pay some of the highest wages in the tech and manufacturing industries." He held up a hand, ticking off points like a math teacher. Tesla workers average $60,000 a year, plus stock options. SpaceX engineers start higher than most national averages. And I personally moved Tesla out of California because your policies made it unaffordable for working families. The crowd stirred again, some nodding. Alexandria tried to cut in. "And how much did you pay in taxes last year?" Elon smiled faintly, the trap already set. "Over $11 billion. A stunned murmur rolled through the room. Alexandria's mouth opened slightly. She hadn't expected that. "Highest personal tax bill in U.S. history," Elon added casually. "So you're welcome." A wave of laughter and scattered applause broke out, louder now. Elon wasn't just defending himself. He was flipping Alexandria's favorite weapons, wealth-shaming, outrage politics, back against her. And it was working. The moderator struggled to keep control. "Let's move on." But the moment had already passed. Alexandria tried to muster another fiery retort. But the old magic wasn't there. The audience wasn't laughing with her anymore. They were thinking. And that, for a politician built on emotional momentum, was far more dangerous than booze. Elon sat back, arms loosely folded, his expression unreadable. He didn't need to attack. He just needed to keep being real. And Alexandria? She needed a miracle, because the ground beneath her was vanishing, one calm answer at a time. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tightened her jaw, realizing she couldn't win this battle on the old grounds. Outrage, slogans, applause lines. Elon Musk wasn't playing that game. And worse, the audience wasn't either. Not anymore. She tried one last pivot, her voice sharp. "You think paying taxes and creating jobs excuses everything? There are bigger issues. Inequality, injustice." But Elon didn't even let her finish. He leaned forward slightly, his voice still steady, but colder now. "Congresswoman, inequality isn't solved by shouting on television." He paused, letting the silence sharpen his words. "It's solved by building, by taking risks, by creating opportunity." The crowd grew still, hanging on every word. "And the truth is," Elon continued, "people don't get rich by accident in America. They work, they innovate, they sacrifice." He glanced toward her, his gaze calm but cutting. "And if you resent that, maybe it says more about your ideas than it does about mine." A low, growing murmur filled the room. Not anger, not laughter. Something heavier. Recognition. Alexandria tried to muster her usual fire. "Your version of success leaves people behind." But Elon struck quickly, his voice like a scalpel. "No, Congresswoman, your version punishes those who dare to get ahead." The line hit hard. The moderator shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Even some of Alexandria's supporters sat frozen, sensing the irreversible shift. Elon didn't stop. "You can try to tear people down, or you can build something yourself. You chose the easier path. I chose the harder one." The blow wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, it was final. The audience, almost without thinking, broke into applause. Real, rolling, unstoppable. Alexandria's face tightened, her hands clutching the edges of her podium. She had walked onto the stage expecting to corner a billionaire villain. Instead, she was standing before a builder, A man who had faced risks, losses, and still built things that changed the world. And worst of all, tonight, she wasn't the one exposing him. He was exposing her. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez knew she was losing the room, and fast. Gone were the early cheers. Gone were the easy applause lines. All that remained was the harsh reality settling over the audience. She tried again, her voice sharper now, almost desperate. You talk about building opportunities, Elon, but what about the ones left behind? The families who can't afford electric cars or tickets to Mars? Some polite claps rang out. Weak, scattered. Elon didn't even blink. He answered without hesitation. I didn't make electric cars for billionaires. I made them so one day, middle-class families could afford a cleaner future. He let the words hang for a moment before finishing. Change starts expensive. Then it gets cheaper, if builders are allowed to build. The audience nodded, murmuring in agreement. Alexandria stepped forward, desperate to regain ground. You think you're saving the world? She snapped. You're just another billionaire playing hero. Elon smiled thinly, his patience unwavering. I'm not playing anything, Congresswoman, he said quietly. I'm actually doing it. A few audience members clapped. More now. Elon pressed forward, voice calm, almost soft. You stand here talking about dreams. I built rockets that fly. You post slogans. I launched companies that employ thousands. He paused, turning directly to her. You want change? It's not going to come from another angry speech. The blow landed hard. No drama, no shouting. Just undeniable truth. Alexandria's face flushed. She opened her mouth to respond, but the words tangled in her throat. Because deep down, she knew. Everyone did. Tonight she hadn't exposed a billionaire's greed. She had exposed her own lack of answers. The moderator looked between them, clearly sensing the irreversible shift. The cameras zoomed in. One image captured it all. Alexandria standing stiff, eyes flashing with frustration, while Elon Musk stood calm, composed, and unshaken. In a single night, the narrative had flipped, and no clever slogan could fix it now. The studio felt heavier now, not with outrage, but with revelation. The battle wasn't being fought anymore. It was over, and everyone knew it. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez adjusted her microphone, trying to muster one last push, but the usual fire, the crowd's energy, the easy momentum, all gone. She glanced briefly at the moderator, who gave her an awkward, sympathetic smile, the kind you give someone who doesn't realize they've already lost. Elon Musk didn't say a word. He didn't need to. The silence was doing all the talking now. Alexandria cleared her throat, voice tight. Even if you build things, it doesn't mean you understand the people suffering in this country. A few loyal supporters clapped, but even that felt hollow, like clapping at the end of a play when you know the hero didn't really win. Elon finally spoke, voice low, measured. I didn't grow up rich, Congresswoman. He paused, letting the truth cut through the heavy air. I worked, day and night. I took risks. I lived in a small apartment with barely enough to eat while trying to build PayPal. Another beat. And when I sold it, he continued, I bet everything, again, on building rockets and cars. I could have retired. I didn't. He looked out over the audience. I kept risking everything, because I believe this country deserves better. The audience sat still, absorbing it, not just hearing, feeling it. Alexandria opened her mouth, but no argument came. No slogan, no outrage, just silence. Elon turned back to her, voice steady. Maybe the real injustice, he said, is teaching people that success is something to be ashamed of. A final ripple. A quiet, undeniable understanding passing through the room. No hashtag could undo this moment. No clever tweet could rewrite what had just happened. Elon Musk hadn't destroyed Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with anger, or insults, or even money. He had done it with something far more dangerous. Reality. And tonight, reality spoke louder than any speech. As the final question wrapped, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez stood rigidly behind her podium, her hands tightly gripping the edges, her smile long gone. The cameras still rolled, but the real battle had ended minutes earlier, and everyone, in the studio, behind the scenes, and across millions of screens, knew exactly who had won. The moderator offered his closing thanks, but his voice barely registered against the storm already brewing outside the studio. On social media, clips of the night's most brutal exchanges had gone viral within minutes. Musk to AOC, "I build, you tweet." Success isn't shameful. Musk dismantles the narrative. Calm, facts, and silence, how Elon Musk won the night. Musk dominates. AOCV's reality. Built, not preached. The hashtag spread like wildfire. Even users who didn't necessarily align with Musk's politics admitted it. He didn't just win the debate, he reframed it. Commentators flooded X and Instagram. You don't have to love Elon Musk to realize he just showed what leadership looks like. Tonight proved something terrifying for politicians like AOC. Facts still matter. Calm will always beat outrage, every time. Meanwhile, Alexandria's team scrambled backstage, desperately trying to spin the narrative. One aide whispered frantically, "Focus on empathy. Highlight the struggles. Remind people about inequality." But the damage was already done. Empathy sounded hollow when set against someone who actually built the things others only talked about fixing. In the green room, Alexandria sat silently, staring at her phone as clips flooded her feed, each one highlighting her weakest moments. Across the building, Elon Musk didn't linger. He shook a few hands, nodded to the moderator, and exited quietly. No victory lap. No arrogance. He didn't need to celebrate. The facts had already done the celebrating for him. At Tesla headquarters later that night, a simple tweet appeared on Elon's account. "When they shout, stay calm. When they mock, keep building." It racked up 1 million likes in under 2 hours. Meanwhile, Alexandria's team posted a carefully worded statement. Tonight, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez stood up for the working class and challenged unchecked corporate power. But it read like what it was. An excuse, not a victory. The night had been a referendum, not just on billionaires, not just on policies, but on which version of reality Americans believed in. Dreams built through action, or dreams shouted through slogans. And tonight, reality, hard, undeniable, quietly powerful, had won. Alexandria hadn't just lost a debate, she had lost the story. And Elon Musk, he hadn't just defended himself. He had defended the idea that building, risking, and striving were still American virtues worth honoring. The country was watching, and it would not soon forget. The next morning, headlines across America told the story. Not with rage, not with gloating, but with a quiet, undeniable shift. Musk redefines leadership on CNN stage. Calm, not chaos, how one man changed the debate. Reality wins. Alexandria's narrative shattered. In coffee shops, diners, college campuses, and corporate offices, people weren't talking about shouting matches or viral insults. They were talking about something rare: substance. At the Capitol, a few lawmakers whispered in hallways, "Did you watch last night?" AOC looked out of her depth. Musk was unstoppable, not angry, just real. On university campuses, where Alexandria once reigned supreme as a symbol of youth-driven change, discussion shifted. "I respect her passion," one student said, "but Musk showed what actual results look like." "Maybe shouting isn't enough," another admitted quietly. Meanwhile, Musk didn't post victory tweets. He didn't brag. He simply kept working. Meetings at SpaceX, updates at Tesla, a quiet lunch with engineers brainstorming new innovations. For him, the battle was never about proving Alexandria wrong. It was about proving something bigger. That truth, when spoken calmly and clearly, still cuts deeper than the loudest screams. That building something real matters more than tearing others down. That in a world addicted to outrage, staying steady could still turn the tide. Alexandria posted a heartfelt video days later, filmed at a community center surrounded by supporters. She spoke about inequality, about injustice, about hope. And the video gathered views, but it didn't erase the images still burned into America's memory. A confident, unshaken Elon Musk standing before a crumbling storm, offering something too rare in modern politics: quiet strength. In private, some of Alexandria's advisors urged her to pivot. "The narrative's changed," one said urgently. "You can't just be the voice of anger anymore." But Alexandria, fierce and proud, wasn't ready to hear it. Meanwhile, Elon's quiet momentum continued building. Polls subtly shifted. Approval ratings edged up. People weren't necessarily falling in love with billionaires overnight, but they were remembering something older, deeper. That respect is earned not through shouting the loudest, but through doing the most, through building, through risking, through standing firm when mocked, through speaking calmly when attacked. One night, one debate, one man refusing to play by the broken rules of outrage. That's all it took to remind a nation starved for substance what real strength looks like. As Elon Musk looked out over the gleaming floors of SpaceX headquarters days later, watching engineers test the next Falcon prototype, he smiled faintly. He hadn't set out to win a debate. He had set out to build a future. And somehow, against all odds, through all the noise, he had reminded America that maybe, just maybe, builders still matter more than critics. And that, in the end, was the only victory that mattered. Tonight, we witnessed something rare, something more powerful than anger, louder than shouting, and stronger than any applause line. We saw that in a world driven by noise, true strength lies not in how loud you can yell, but in how firmly you can stand. Elon Musk didn't win because he was the richest man on stage. He didn't win because of a viral moment. He won because he reminded all of us that building, risking, and staying calm in the storm still matter, and that truth, even whispered, can silence the loudest screams. At Surprising Stories, we believe in telling the moments that flip the script, where reality cuts through noise and where substance overcomes spectacle. Because in the end, it's not about who shouts the loudest. It's about who builds, who stands firm, and who refuses to be shaken. If you believe in those who dare to build, in the quiet fighters who reshape the future, then you're in the right place. Thank you for watching. And remember, this is just the beginning. Subscribe to Surprising Stories. The next moment of truth could be closer than you think.